Hello, everybody!
Hi.
This week's video is called Compromise. And there's a very good reason for that one. It started yesterday. I was given the opportunity to go eat at the fancy restaurant in my casino without us having to pay for it. And as many of you may have figured out, he doesn't do the fancy stuff. He's very much a plebeian cook and a plebeian eater.
I have had some severely fancy food in restaurants, and I've had it in non-fancy situations where just incredibly excellently done food, rare stuff, expensive stuff. And I didn't mind the food. The food was good, both cases. I would prefer to have it in the less fancy um, restaurant or
He'd rather have
setting.
it. He would happily take the exact same plate and plating job in a street food area rather than in a fancy dining location, and that's just how he is. Um, but anyways, so I insisted that he come with me because I wanted to do a fancy dinner date, and that meant that he had to actually get nice clothes on, and he was not happy about that one. So he went.
Power of fashion compels you. Power of fashion compels you.
I will get you into fashionable clothing. Anyways, so he went knowing that it would probably not be something he would enjoy. He ended up enjoying most of the food.
I ordered things I like.
Yes. But he went because he knew it would make me happy to go. And this is where compromise comes in. I really wanted to go. He decided that he would compromise in, I'm not going to make a big fuss, I'll go because it'll make her happy. Compromise, huge, huge part of relationships. I don't think that's something that a lot of people get. It's always my way or the highway. And as he can attest, when we were early on in our relationship, he had to make the decision of either being right or being in the relationship. And that's something that he's fought with for a very long time.
Still fight.
Still fight. We both do. We both still fight with that particular bit of, is this really something I need to win, or is this something that's not as important as my relationship? For instance, I could have forced him to wear a shirt that I think looks better on him, but I chose to let him wear the shirt that he's more comfortable in because the other shirt has connotations that he really doesn't want to think about. It has bad memory association. So
I keep it because certain things come up regarding that memory. How to put this? I don't want to sully any other clothing if I have to deal with that particular thing again.
So he has that fancy shirt. He wears it for this one particular set of events. He doesn't want to wear it anywhere else. So instead of me forcing him to wear the shirt that I think looks better on him, I compromised.
Mind you, that shirt she picked out.
I compromised and let him wear the shirt that I think doesn't look as good on him, but it's still a fancy-ish shirt. It's a button-up long-sleeve shirt, so it technically qualifies. And let him wear that to the dinner. He also would rather not have to drive the hour and a half it takes to get to my work because, let's face it, that's a really long drive for a dinner. In the end, the last part of the meal was quite worth it. Wouldn't you say? That coffee service?
It was very interesting, yes.
It just wasn't worth the whole trip?
No.
Okay. So, think about how this affects our relationship right there. I compromised on him not having to wear the shirt that would make him uncomfortable. He compromised on actually hauling his sorry butt out to the thing that he doesn't like to do, which is fancy dinners.
And she compromised by eating things she doesn't like.
Yeah, I tried snails. Yes, I'm the chef, and yes, this was the first time I've actually tried snails.
I like snails. I just happen to think that mushrooms and butter garlic sauce on toast would be
just as good.
Just as good.
Personally, I think it'd be better, but I was kind of meh on the snails when I got to try one.
She got to try buffalo carpaccio.
I've had that. I've made that. I've served it.
But she's not really a raw buffalo person. And she tried She tried the shrimp. She's not really a fan of shrimp.
The shrimp was very mild tasting as far as the shrimp itself goes, but I really don't like shrimp very much. Most of the time it's too shrimpy
And
tasting, and I really don't like shrimp.
it's funny. Speaking of compromise, she'll go, "Oh, I won't order that because Sean won't like it," or "I won't. We won't go there because Sean doesn't like these things." And I look at her and go, "What are you talking about? That's great. That's great. That's great. That's great. I've had that. I've always wanted to try that. Never got a chance. I'll take those three things all at once. Thanks. That'll be great." And she's like, "How? Why? Who?" And I
Who are
went,
you?
"Who are you?" And I'm like, "I'm your husband, who's had the goat testicle kidney mushrooms and dill stew that was I had it at like 4 in the evening and the goat was bleeding and alive, bleeding like meh. It was doing that at like noon. So
It was
i'm
very fresh.
I don't like fish, but that's because it tastes awful to me. And there's certain things, I like yogurt sauces. I don't generally like yogurt. I like strawberry flavored things. I don't like strawberries. um, there's I'm with everyone. There's certain preferences. There's like one or two foods I can't eat. But yeah, I'm the adventurous eater.
But anyways, back to
I brought
compromise.
home the lapjong Korean bean
Back to
paste
compromise, which was
and
the point
pho.
of this lovely little bit. And that's another thing that we're doing here. He's compromising by keeping his mouth shut when I'm poking him enough. I.e. shutting up long enough for me to be able to talk, since it was kind of my idea for this particular video. And so compromise. When you have two opposing views, compromise is where you meet in the middle. It's where you guys both work, give a little until you get to something that you can both settle with. I mean, I believe the famous quote for negotiation is when both parties are unhappy, you win.
Yeah, it's a good contract when both parties are unhappy.
There we go.
Compromise is also the thing famously the U.S. government isn't good at
Good
doing.
at with
And
terrorists.
actually, no, I'm just talking about in general. It's
That's
not
true.
good
They
at
can't even compromise
compromise
with
with each other.
themselves.
And in fact, our state government isn't terribly good at compromising, and neither is our local. It's pervasive.
U.S. government from bottom up really can't compromise. But
State, local, they can't do it either.
I said from ground up.
It's not the U.S. government, dude.
They're still part of it.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
No, state and local is different.
They're still required to follow federal law, which is U.S. government law.
But
Even
federal
at
is
the
not
local
required
level,
to follow
it's
state law.
no, but it goes up the chain. Anyways,
I'll explain to you later. I was part of the National Guard system a long time ago, and so I happen to know very well for a fact where the differences lie, and they're quite clear. Because let's say
honey,
the
this is
Army,
not part of
the
this
Army had to
video.
do certain things. This is part of compromise. The Army had to do certain things. The National Guard doesn't. The National Guard has to do certain things. The Army doesn't. And that was part of the compromise that established those principles.
So apparently, once upon a time, our government could compromise, but it can't anymore. Okay, so relationships. Relationships and compromise. If you can't compromise and you always insist on one person winning, or that one person always insists on winning, you're going to have a very uneven partnership, and it's not really going to be a partnership. It's going to be kind of a dictatorship, emphasis on the dick part. And that can go for male or female. I've seen plenty of females that are dicks.
And I've seen it where I've seen relationships where one person always has to be right, and the other person just lets that happen, and then slowly over the years they get frustrated. So instead of saying, "Hey, we need to compromise, we need this," they're saying, "We need to compromise," and the way of compromising is by letting me always be right sometimes. Instead of going, "We need to be down here together." It's, well, they both end up here, and funnily
That
enough,
also
they get
leads bad
divorced.
tempers that are high too.
Why
So,
isn't there always doing? I'm the one that's right here.
we actually have a set of friends that are going through a rather, most likely going to be a very nasty divorce because
No,
they insist on their
be quiet, whimper.
whimper. Oh, you think it's fizzled?
It's physical.
Anyways, so they don't ever talk to each other. They don't ever compromise on anything. One always has
Remember
to
our
be
video
right.
on communication?
They don't do that.
They don't do that.
Part of compromise is communication. Oddly enough, they go hand in hand. Makes it a lot easier when you can, compromise if you can talk to each other. Anyways, that's basically what it is. How it pertains to Aspies and neurotypicals in a relationship. Think about this: how many Aspies, look at yourselves too, do you know that insist there's only
I am
one
looking at
path?
myself.
There's only one path. There's no other way of going around it. They always go this one way. And then they run into someone that they really like, who instead of going down this one path, likes to go this way. They then have to decide, and for a lot of Aspies, they haven't reached this point in their development, whether they want to continue down that one path, which has always been the way that they go, or do they want to be with the person and go down the route. That's something that he's done from day one, deciding whether or not he wants to stay firm or if he wants to actually, pull with me in whatever direction I happen to be going. And sometimes I get pulled his way, and sometimes he gets pulled my way, but we kind of even out overall.
Now, the classic element of how this gets frustrating. Where do you want to go eat tonight?
I don't know.
Well, then what about this?
Eh,
Okay, what about this?
maybe.
What about this?
No.
Okay, do you have anything you really want to do?
Not really.
Okay, I'm gonna go get this. We're gonna go get this right now.
Oh, well, can we go do this too? That, unfortunately, is a lot of our conversations. And that's how we know which part to play on that one. And I really am the wishy-washy one a lot of the time.
Strangely enough, if I go to maybe pimp out one of our local restaurants, Michael's Deli on South Virginia Street, and I get 2 hot pastrami sandwiches, and I come home and I go, "Here's your hot pastrami," or I go, "I have a roast beef and a corned beef, and they're both tasty. Which one do you want?" And she'll go, "I want that one." And
He gives me small choices, I make the easy choice. But when he tries to give me a generic one, just like it is in flip side, I have to give him narrow choices sometimes too. So we
I'm
both,
tired and I don't understand that. I don't really have a firm grasp of what's going on.
yeah, brain not working.
Not working.
Unfortunately, usually when it involves food, I don't have the brain anymore.
And that's the other thing about compromise. If you have somebody you can trust, then you there's not it's not really it's not really the opposite of compromise. It's the absence of compromise. It's the ability to turn to the person like this and go, "I have no brain," or "Something is happening and
I can't
I
comprehend.
can't comprehend. I can't decide. I trust you.
At
Make
which
a decision, whatever it is, however much I dislike it, I will live with it. Just please, dear God, solve the problem."
And usually the way that works, and it has worked on both sides of this, both he's done it to me and I've done it to him. The person who has been asked to make a decision makes a decision, and the person who has done the asking just kind of suffers and deals with it.
The only part is let your decision be informed by who you're making it for.
Yes. For instance, if he were making the decision for me, he wouldn't take me to Red Lobster.
Yeah, I don't like Red Lobster
Well, he wouldn't take me to a sea bug store or a sea bug restaurant.
And if she was making the decision for me, she wouldn't bring me fish.
Uh-huh.
It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
But she knows that I'm not really a terribly big fan of chicken. But if she got and brought home a chicken sandwich, barbecue chicken sandwich or something, I go, okay.
He'd just eat it. He would probably not comment one way or the other unless it was really tasty, and that's about it.
There's a nationwide store, Jimmy John's. I'm not a big fan of them. I'm not a not fan of them. There's a few sandwiches there I like, but she knows that if I'm hungry and I can't think, she brings me a sandwich from there that's not fish. I'll eat it and be grateful.
Mhm.
Yes, I got brought food and I was hungry.
In closing, compromise is a good thing. Keep in mind whenever you're dealing with anybody, that is family, coworkers, friends, relationship, spouse, whatever, compromise is a part of life when you're dealing with people. It is not an easy thing. Even for those that are social butterflies, compromise sucks. We all want to be right. Now, the real question is, do you want to be right more than you want to be in a relationship with that person? Talk to you guys later. Have a good one.
Bye.